Welcome to this session of mindfulness, awareness, and compassion practice. What we'll be doing is going through a sequence of practices. In the tradition that I practice meditation, one of the recommendations is that at certain times it's good to do many short sessions rather than just one long one. There are times when you do intensive practice and longer sessions, but it's good to do a short period of practice, then refresh, and then another, and then refresh, and then another. And it keeps everything very fresh and vivid, so your practice doesn't get stale or mired in a lot of discursive thinking. What we'll do today is a settling and grounding practice, then a practice called close placement, which is used to tame or train our busy mind to stay a little more present and to be aware when our mind wanders to come back to what we were paying attention to. Then an awareness practice called mixing mind and space, in which we open up to the environment. And beyond that, then we'll do some compassion practice. And an interesting note on that, I participate in a meditation practice focused on the suffering that's happening in the war in Ukraine. And there's so much besides the physical violence and actual injury and death. There's a tremendous amount of mental anguish. So when we do the compassion practice, what we want to do is have the attitude of wishing for them to have compassion for what they're going through. At the same time, it's pervasive all over the world, and a long-time friend of mine is dying, and I'll be thinking of him. The other thing that we do the compassion practice for is even in our everyday interactions. And a friend of mine just wrote to me yesterday. He had a rather disconcerting interaction with somebody that sort of out of the blue, after saying hello, the person just accosted him and threatened him and just railed against him for a while. And the interesting thing is, those people, when they're so out of control, they are literally out of control of their own emotions. And so when we do the compassion practice, we actually say, I wish I could take away from them their confusion and their being so enmeshed in their rage. And that would do two things. It would reduce their suffering, and it would reduce the suffering that they cause for others. And then we also include ourselves in our reaction, and to whatever extent we get angry and upset and get hooked by those situations. So part of the compassion practice is having compassion for oneself, to forgive and to let go, to forgive ourselves and let go of the things that hook us. You only get hooked if you hold on to the hook. And then, of course, extending to the wish for others to be free from suffering. I'll talk about a little bit more just before we practice, as we do the practice. So let's begin at the beginning and take a good posture. Posture is important for the flow of the breathing and what goes with that, because our breath and our mind are inexorably linked, that if we're sitting slumped over, there's a slumped over attitude as well. And the breathing is shut down and we get kind of sleepy. And if our chin floats up, we get kind of spaced out. And so what we want to do is, like when we were kids, sit up. We were told to sit up and pay attention. If we sit up with a upright but not too rigid spinal column, and feel like the back of our head is a continuation straight up. If the back of our head is extended gently straight up, our chin comes in kind of naturally. I'll show you from sitting sideways. And we, over the computer, we tend to be hunched over and like this. So if we sit up, pull our shoulders back just a little bit, and if we, if we're sitting forward like this, if the back of our head extends gently upward, our chin comes in very naturally. So that's the that's the sense that we want to have with the practice that way. Here we go. Have that upright posture. Now, for the rest of that's our core of the spinal column, and then everything relaxes around that, like canvas just hanging from a tent pole before it's pulled out to be a tent. Feet, if you're sitting in a chair, flat on the floor, about hip width apart, unless your knees are higher than your hips. And that puts a strain on your back and activates your upper legs. So then you can gently cross your legs at the ankles in front of you. And if you're on a cushion, you can sit with a gentle cross-legged posture. Let your arms hang down from your sides. Leave the elbows where they are and just swivel your hands up and place them on palm down on each thigh, respectively. We're breathing mainly through our nose, and definitely in through your nose. If some breath comes out through your mouth, it's okay. And we want our jaw relaxed, but not hanging loose. The idea is to have your lips either just lightly touching or just slightly parted. And we'll do different gazes with our eyes. So to start with, let your eyes gently close. And let's fully inhabit our bodies. Too often we're like we're like heads carrying around our bodies underneath us and not really fully inhabiting in them. So start at the bottom. Wiggle your toes, roll your ankles a little bit, and feel your feet. It's kind of far away from the usual command center up here. And flex your calf muscles. Feel your shins, knees, thighs. You have quads, you have hamstrings. Feel your weight and how it's setting on the seat. Feel your hips and pelvis. You can move around a little bit. Feel your width. You're a three-dimensional being. We often act as if we're two-dimensional and we just have a front. But there's something behind that all the way to our back. We have a width as well as a height. Feel your back. Pull your shoulders back, roll them forward. Let your rib cage widen and come back. You can feel that your back has dimensions. stomach and your chest. Feel your arms, shoulders all the way, your biceps, triceps, forearms. Wiggle your hands and then replace them. Wiggle your fingers, I mean. Roll your wrists, wiggle your fingers, and then replace your hands. And move your head gently, just to feel how your neck balances. Your neck and your head relate to your shoulders. Your head balanced on your neck. Feel the back of your head extending gently upwards. We pull our shoulders back a little bit only to counteract the tendency we have to be hunched over. Don't exaggerate. Gentle little movements. As a teacher once said, when I tell you to take an aspirin, I mean one or two, not the whole bottle. So just little adjustments. And now scan for any unnecessary tension. We want to be upright, not rigid, but there's extra tension that we often hold. So start at the top of your head. Let your awareness scan down. Feel your scalp, your forehead. As your awareness touches all those parts of your body, let them, just the awareness itself, have the intention that that will soften them. Just being aware of them, they soften. Cheekbones, ears, mouth and jaw. A lot of extra tension in the jaw very often. Just let it melt and soften. Neck and shoulders. Again, a lot of tension that we hold there. Sometimes we're not even aware of it. If you feel there's some stubborn tension in your shoulders, you can actually raise them up and clench them. Hold them tightly for a couple of seconds and then don't push them, but just then let them just fall naturally. Upper arms, collarbone and shoulder blades, chest and upper back, rib cage all around. Let that awareness move down through your torso, lower back, and deep belly. Again, deep belly and pelvis. Sometimes we're clenching down there and don't even realize it. Just let it soften without losing your posture. Hips and pelvis, thighs, forearms, and hands, knees, calves, ankles, and feet. As I said, very often we feel like our mind is monitoring our body from up above, from behind our forehead. That's where the control center is. We're going to let go of that feeling of residing there and let our mind, our awareness fall back. Fall back to the back of your skull and drift down. Like the falling back is a feeling of just letting go, like you're falling back into a big, soft, easy chair or sofa. Fall back and drift down. And let your awareness move down behind your throat, behind your chest, settling down slowly behind the solar plexus, behind your stomach, behind your navel, and down a few inches below the navel, just in front of the spine. It's calm and quiet down there. is just a gentle movement around your core as the breath goes in and out, like gentle currents at the bottom of a pond. With your awareness down there, let your body feel like it's sinking down, not perched on your seat, but really sinking into your seat. Breathe out and sink down even further without losing your posture. Let your weight sink down and feel like you're merging with the earth. Feel that solid and grounded, like you're part of the earth. But your posture extends upward majestically like a mountain. Be aware of your breath coming and going, but be an observer rather than a director. Let the breath come and go like the wind. And set the intention for your mind to be open to whatever you're experiencing, without partiality or bias, without preconception. Open like the sky, letting thoughts, feelings, perceptions go by, arise and disappear like clouds or like birds flying across the sky. Body like a mountain, breath like the wind, mind like the sky. Gently let your eyes open about halfway and looking down, downward under your eyelids. Without your eyes fixing on a particular spot, soften your gaze so that it's as if you're looking at the space that you're sitting in, rather than at any object. Be aware of your body, and the focus of this mindfulness, the focus of our attention, is the internal sensation, the physical feeling of filling as the breath comes in and emptying as the breath goes out. Feel it deep in your core. Let your awareness rest there. Feeling of filling and emptiness, awareness of your posture. And we'll do that for a couple of minutes. Now, if your mind wanders off into a series of thoughts, into a daydream, and you're no longer attuned to those physical feelings, just smile, because the mind does wander. And you can think, that was wandering. As soon as you wake up from your daydream, you're already back to the here and now. Just return your attention to the physical sensation, to your posture, and reinvigorate your posture if you need to, and that internal feeling of filling and emptying. You can relax, refresh, reinvigorate your posture. And I want to do something a little bit different today. I want to give you some additional mindfulness practices, kind of mindfulness on the go. One and two of them involve your hands, and the third involves your attitude. So one of them is using your hand, turn a little sideways, and placing your hand, if you're, let's start with our left hand, palm facing us, and the right hand, the index finger against the outside of the left wrist. There we go. Okay. And as you breathe in, normal pace, inhale, run your finger up to the top. A little pause, and a slow exhale down the inside of your little finger to the bottom. Little pause, regular pace inhale, up the ring finger, slowly exhale down the other side. Inhale up the middle finger, slowly exhale down the other side. Inhale up the index finger, slowly down the other side. As you exhale, inhale along the thumb, and slowly down to the wrist. Reverse direction, inhale up the thumb, slowly exhale down the other side. Inhale up the index finger, and watch it as you do it. Slowly exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, and exhale down. And then you can switch to the other hand. We won't do that today. But it gives you 4 modules of 5 breaths. It incorporates your attention, obviously, as well as your eyes to follow your finger, the feeling of the finger by this hand, and the insides of our fingers are very sensitive, so it very activates our feeling mode, and movement or action. So it really absorbs your attention in a lot of different senses as well. And as you go through, at a certain point, it starts to settle into a deeper level of calming. And you'll find that there aren't many thoughts going on because your mind is occupied with all of those things. So you can do that at any time. If you're, especially if you're waiting for something and you feel impatience coming over you, oh, great opportunity to do my hand mindfulness. Now, another version of this that's a little, that you can also do, that has a different quality and it also is a little less obvious if you're sitting like in a meeting or something. You can even do it in your lap under the table. And that is, let's again use our right hand. You can do the reverse if you're left-handed, but I'm right-handed, so I'm holding up my left hand and I'm going to take hold of my thumb, and it's like I'm hugging it. If you're a golfer, the ideal grip pressure on your golf club is about 3 on a scale of 1 to 10. So that's what you want to grip this for everybody. 10 would be totally tight, 1 hardly touching, about a 3 or 4 on that. And hold for a breath. Then go to your index finger, same grip. Hold for a breath. Middle finger, hold for a breath. Ring finger, hold for a breath. Little finger. And you can either reverse or switch hands. So we'll switch hands. Thumb, hold for a breath. Index finger, hold for a breath. Middle finger. Now I held my hands up, but you can certainly do that in your lap. And it's better to let your hands hang down a little bit that way. So those are two kind of on the go, especially while you're waiting for something. Instead of impatience, you have an opportunity to do some mindfulness practice. And it's a little easier because you have a physical focus rather than sitting in an office with people coming and going. And up to you whether you, when you're doing the hugging your fingers practice, whether your eyes are open or closed. You can do it either way. You want to have your eyes open when you're doing the hand. Okay. By the way, I have some people if they're having trouble sleeping, they lie there and do the hugging their finger practice, and usually they don't make it through both hands. The third thing I wanted to mention, kind of on the go, is working with thoughts and sometimes feelings or emotions, which are thoughts with a lot of energy attached to them. And we find when we're caught up in thinking, we get uptight. Now, you've never heard the expression down tight because there isn't such an expression, because nobody's ever down and tight. We're uptight. Our shoulders go up, our energy gets faster, and everything's happening up here. So one thing you can think is, like the ocean and waves, the waves keep going, but below them, it's calmer underneath in the ocean. And if you've ever done body surfing, you don't fight the waves, you dive under the waves. The waves keep crashing above, but it's quiet under there and you come up on the other side. So when you find yourself very caught up in thoughts and emotions, instead of identifying with them, you say, oh, these are waves, but I and my mind and I am the ocean. And move your awareness down to your heart or your core, into your body. These are just waves. And they're not just waves, they're powerful waves. But these are waves coming through. But I am the ocean. The ocean doesn't change, the waves keep moving. So those are some practices that you can do. And we can discuss it a little more after we finish the session, the practice part. Okay, so again, refresh your posture. And this time, look straight ahead and let your soft gaze, again, don't look in a particular direction, but don't look at something. Don't grasp onto where your eyes rest, but soften your gaze as if you're looking at the whole space, opening up to your peripheral vision, above and below, to both sides. Be aware of all that's in your field of vision. You're seeing colors, shapes, shades of light and dark. Be aware of what you're seeing without a lot of commentary on it. A label might come to mind: bookshelf, mirror. But if that passes through, just let it come through and just stay open to your field of vision. Without moving your eyes, you can move your awareness around and explore colors, shapes, shades of light and dark. Leaving your eyes open, listen for sounds in all directions. Loud and soft, high-pitched and low, near and far. Open up your peripheral hearing in all directions, listen for sounds as far away as you can hear. Having opened to the external environment, leave your eyes open, but turn your awareness to your internal environment, what your body feels like, the weight of your sit bones on your seat, feet pressing into the floor, the clothing on your body, the air on the skin of your face and hands, cool, dry air coming in through your nostrils, warm, moist air going out. Body moving as you breathe. See if you can feel your heartbeat in your chest, your wrists, fingertips, or neck, maybe all of them. Now tune into your breath going out into the environment. You can't see it, but you know, and there's a feeling as it leaves your body, your breath mixes with the air in the room and dissolves and becomes one with the atmosphere. As the breath goes out, let your awareness open up into the space in the room. Let your mind mix with the atmosphere the way the breath does. And relax into that feeling of opening to the environment. You're not so centralized on yourself, but opening to out there. The breath comes in by itself. The body breathes the breath in. You don't have to draw it in. So breathe out, go out with the breath, open and rest there. Out, open and rest. We'll do that for a minute or two. Again, if your mind wanders into a daydream, just smile. Think that was wandering. Pick up on the next out breath. Just out, open, and rest. As you breathe out, feel that your awareness expands out, not just in front of you, but in all directions around you. Out, open in all directions, and rest. And again, imagine that your awareness opens out as big as the sky, beyond the room you're in, beyond the area you're in. Breathe out, open in all directions, as far as the sky, and rest. Breathe out and have a sense of infinite openness in all directions, and rest there. Within that infinite openness are all living beings. And feel your heart, not your physical heart, but your tender heart of kindness and caring, a heart of empathy. All living beings, we're all the same in wanting happiness and wanting to be free from suffering. So working with your breath, as you breathe out, imagine that you're sending out kindness and happiness to all beings. As you breathe in, imagine that you're able to breathe in and take away from them their suffering. A quality of sending out goodness and light, breathing in fear and darkness of the mind. Direct your attention, and you can leave your eyes open or closed as you wish, to yourself. And for 3 breaths, imagine that you are sending out from your heart to yourself kindness, forgiveness, happiness, absorbing into your tender heart relieving yourself as you breathe in, relieving yourself, taking away your own suffering, negative feelings, unhappiness. Imagine in front of you one or more of your loved ones. You know what they're going through. As you breathe in, as you breathe out, send them all the things that make you happy that you want to share with them. Send that to them. Breathe in and take from them the suffering and struggle that they're going through. Send them happiness. Breathe in, take from them suffering. Breathe out, send them happiness, peace, health. Breathe in, take suffering, struggle, illness. As best you can, expand that out farther and farther. People you know, people you imagine all over the world. Include animals. They are suffering as well. Breathe out, send peace, health, and happiness to all beings, even people you have difficulty with. How much less difficult a person would they be if they had peace, health, and happiness and weren't struggling so much? Take away their confusion, hatred, anger, fear, all the causes of suffering in the world. As you breathe in, imagine that you're taking that away from all beings that are subject to that. Breathing out instead, filling them with love, kindness, peace, and happiness. So that was a brief exploration of these different practices, a feeling of the texture and flavor of doing compassion practice for yourself and others. And in line with this compassion practice and knowing that we are interdependent, we're not independent of other beings. We're all part of the same world, and we all share those same hopes for happiness and wishes to be free from suffering. So we empower ourselves when we dedicate the benefit from the practice that we do to others. So you can say this, repeat after me, or say it in your own words to conclude the session. May the practice we have just done be of benefit to others as well as ourselves. If you're feeling particularly generous, you can say, may the practice I have just done be of even more benefit to others than to myself. And that concludes our session. And now I want to invite you to unmute yourselves. Let me see if I can arrange that. Hang on a second. I think I do this and there. So I think you can unmute yourselves if you want. Yep. I think
Hey, Joe.
And then
When you were talking about the waves of thought, I disappeared into thought. But what was different for me was I actually felt it in parts of my body, like in my gut. It actually went to a particular situation and was able to let it go. But I think without this practice, whether today or cumulatively, but especially today, I wouldn't have been so sensitive to it and been able to come back so quickly. So thank you.
You're very welcome. It's a powerful and really, really helpful attitude because we so identify with our thoughts. But it's so important to know we have thoughts, but we are not our thoughts. Mind is the container, like the ocean is the container of the waves. The waves are an expression of the ocean, but they're not the ocean. So good. I'm glad that you could work with it that way. That's great. Anybody else have a observation or question? You're good.
Yeah, I'm trying to put that into a question so it makes sense. So the practice of openness,
Mm-hmm.
how does that tie into, let's say, a situation where you're with a person
Mm-hmm.
where you feel anything from uncomfortable to actively threatened, and where your kind of spontaneous impulse would be to close up?
Mm-hmm.
So, the practice, that's we've probably the question, how does the practice of openness tie into such a situation, or how would you apply it?
That's a great question. Thank you. And there's an interesting teaching that I received many years ago. It's a Buddhist approach to psychology and working with others, and that is that human beings are like our minds are a little bit. There's an aspect of our minds, not the whole thing, but an aspect of our minds that's a little bit like a tuning fork. Do you know what a tuning fork is?
Yeah.
Okay, and if you have two tuning forks and you strike one and it has a vibration, the other one will start to vibrate at the same frequency. Okay, so if you're encountering somebody, the openness is, first of all, awareness of the whole space, not closing down and focusing on one particular thing, but awareness of the whole space and the general tone of the feeling as well as the words that are coming. And then, and you're looking out there, turn your awareness to what you're feeling right then. What am I feeling right then? And you will be picking up on something that they're feeling.
Mhm.
So if you're feeling threatened, you'll feel defensive. And you'll be able to pick up and say, they're acting out of a defensiveness about something. And then you get curious as to what's going on, as opposed to just, how do I get out of this?
Mhm.
And the friend of mine who was going through that threatening interaction
I was thinking,
had a very good response. And he, instead of saying, no, you're the asshole, he said, I'm really sorry that you feel that way.
mhm.
And didn't lose his seat, which is takes practice.
Mhm.
But there's still, you can be shaken afterwards,
Mhm.
and then you tune in again, and then you say, I feel really, besides feeling threatened, and I really feel like, wow, what tumult is that person going through? And you say, I wish they weren't, because then they would have less suffering and they would inflict less suffering on others. But there's a tendency to blame and say, well, what's your problem? But the interesting thing is, they're loose cannons. They're out of control. They don't have control of their own emotions. And if you were walking by uh, a doorway, and the sign over the doorway said, um, residence for the mentally challenged. And a kid ran out and kicked you in the shins. Yeah, you'd be upset and you'd be angry for a moment, but then you go, oh, wow, that kid's got problems, right? And you wouldn't be so blaming of the kid. Well, guess what? Look around.
Right.
This planet is a residence for the mentally challenged. And you just happen to be walking by when they came out to kick somebody. There's a story about an empty boat. I'll make it really quick. A man lived by a river, liked to take his little rowboat out to the middle of the stream and anchor there and enjoy the evening. And he saw coming around the bend up the river a bigger boat, one of those cabin cruiser types, right? And he said, first, isn't it nice that someone's enjoying this beautiful evening with me? And then they were coming straight down the middle of the river, right down towards his boat. And he said, well, surely they'll see that I was here first and they'll get out of the way. But it kept coming. And so he stood up in his boat and he started gesturing, go that way, go that way. And he's getting a little more irritated as it goes. And now he's getting angry. Hey, I was here first. I shouldn't have to move and get out of your way. You move, go to the side, and he did that right until it crashed into his boat. And he's hanging to a piece of his rowboat and he looks up and there was no one at the wheel. It was an empty boat. So that's what we run into a lot of empty boats out there that they're coming down the river towards you and there's nobody at the wheel. And
so the general idea is really stay open and trust that by staying open, you will realize what's the best thing to do.
Absolutely. It will come to, and that's I'm so glad you said that, because my teacher said, wait, feel what's going on and then wait for the intuitive intelligence. Sometimes they call it emotional intelligence, intuitive intelligence, to direct you rather than figuring out how to get out of this. And if you engage in it, you're hooked. And as I said before, you're only hooked if you bite.
Thank you. It's very helpful.
Now it's a minute or two after 10. If people have to go, that's fine. Thank you for coming. We can go another 10 minutes. We'll call it overtime. We'll have an overtime period if you'd like to stay and have a little more conversation. And whenever I'm waiting for somebody's response, it's my favorite meditation. I don't go anybody like the old movie. I just wait and there's space. And if you have to go, nice to have you here. We'll be doing again in 2 weeks.
This is the first time I've been able to join you lot. It always seems to be the middle of the night, and it's handy now because it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or 5:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's getting dark here, so I can't be on a golf course. But
Thank you for coming, Sandy.
Just wanted to say thank you because it's been an absolute delight. So please don't have them in the middle of the night, or if you do, I might be in my pajamas. But thank you. This is a great setup, and I'll get to as many as I can of them.
Well, come as you are. And Amanda is asking, can anyone suggest a good round light for the Zoom? Now, we can do it. You don't need to put in, in all caps is shouting, in text and emails. So a good round light for the Zoom. Anybody? I just have natural light happening, and I happen to have a mirror on my closet on the opposite side of the window, so it balances perfectly. But that's I have that situation. Anybody else can offer that light. But Sandy, thank you so much. And do come as you are, pajamas and all.
Yeah. Well, I understand it's available on you can get them on catch up, but somehow when we're all sitting here at the same time with the same intentions, it just feels like it's a different ball game.
And there is more power.
Mm.
And yes, Amanda does need a light because we can't see her.
Yeah, I do.
Please send Amanda a light. I'm sending it out as my breath goes out. Light is going to Amanda. I'm
Okay.
taking away the darkness, sending out the light.
Thank you. I do have one comment.
Yes.
Can I have one comment? Yeah. I just feel that my breathing has almost stopped during the practice, and it still feels as if my breathing has stopped. So I feel very grounded, but quite expanded at the same time.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's a good sign.
But I'll be tested because I'm just about to go into a group of people. So I'll be interested to see if I do some of the practices.
Hug your fingers.
And I'll do the hand one.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Hug those fingers as the hand.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nick wrote, has to go. I'm glad you find it helpful. Please come back 2 weeks from today, same time, same channel.
I was glad you mentioned your friend because it's the birthday of a friend of mine who died about a year ago. And he was a great golfer and meditator and big fan of Golf in the Kingdom. So he's called Mark. So I've been thinking about him as he's been meditating.
Great. Always good. Yeah, it seems to be going around because somebody's got a cat.
That's mine.
Or a kid, or a kid. I can't tell. I just got a call this morning that a longtime friend of mine who's been in a home and really isn't, not really compos mentis, is Amanda. I'm going to mute your cat for a second. His sister called and said he's got hours or days left. So I'm going to go, hopefully as days, because I'm heading down there tomorrow. But you include them and when someone is in the process of passing or has passed, their consciousness, there's a sense that the consciousness doesn't necessarily totally disappear right away, and that you can, at least for yourself, send them wishes for imagine you're taking away their fear and confusion as they're dying and pain, and send them clarity and courage. And that's a good practice to do for someone who's in the process of dying. Because as you can imagine, it's pretty scary. I've been told. I don't recall personally, but I've been told. I can imagine that it's pretty scary, letting go. If there aren't any other thoughts, it's wonderful to be with all of you. I get so much out of it, and I dedicate it to you and all beings. So thank you so much, and we'll
Thanks, Jen.
see you in 2 weeks.